Okay, welcome to the show, Godly Thoughts with Komatasi. Today we're talking about persecution in church. Matthew 5, verse 11, where Jesus says, you are actually blessed when people persecute you for good reasons. Because they persecute you because you're God's follower, and you are blessed if they persecute you, as opposed to when you are best friends with everyone at church. I know that in this day and age, people try to avoid conflict by all means. You try to make sure you are dwelling well with everyone, and that is nice. But sometimes, if you are worshiping God in spirit and in truth, you will find yourself at loggerheads with people who do not share the same sentiment. There are some people who are sanctimonious, who are pretentious when it comes to praying to God, who take the worship of God as a show where they come and they do various stunts and they don't mean anything they are doing. If you are trying to reform the church, you are definitely going to expect persecution. If you are trying to bring people to the truth, you are going to face persecution. If you have the gift, maybe even of prophecy, and God tells you things, and you say those things to people, those things are going to bruise certain egos, and you will find yourself being persecuted. If you do anything right in church these days, you don't often get praise from people. You can even get persecution from the pastor, from the elders, and from the deacons. But the Bible tells us that you are blessed when people persecute you for doing the right thing. You are blessed. The Good News Bible says, happy are you when people persecute you for doing good. Sometimes we do good hoping to get a pat on the shoulder, hoping to get recognition, hoping to be mentioned. But sometimes you don't get that. Instead, what you get is persecution. Instead, what you get is isolation. Instead, what you get is really you have trouble worshiping with us at the church because you are doing the right thing. How often have you even wondered why people hate you for doing what you believe to be the right thing? Why people dislike you? Because the right things that you are doing are reflecting badly on them. You are showing them that it is possible to do good while they are trying to prove that they cannot do good because maybe the world is difficult, times are tough, people have to cut corners, life is hard, so maybe they have to steal church money, or maybe they have to go around gossiping. Sometimes even pastors come to an assembly. You try to set up an assembly there according to what you believe is biblical, and you get persecution from the local elders. Or maybe you're one of the elders and you see the rest of the people here are not doing it right. God wants us to do it this way, and you think you're going to get a reward for that. Instead, you get persecution. We should really be careful not to expect admiration from people whenever we do good, but to even open doors for persecution. The chance for persecution is more real when you're doing good than when you are not, because the road to doing evil is more broad, and narrow is the road that requires you to do right. And when you're doing right, sometimes even within your house, you get persecuted. You're saying, let's take care of our mother. Your wife may not agree with it. You're saying, your wife is saying, let's take care of this orphan, and you may not agree. Whatever the case is, doing right these days no longer invites admiration. Doing right no longer gets you on the good side of everyone. Sometimes doing right causes you to suffer persecution. Doing right causes you to suffer alienation, causes you to suffer exclusion, social exclusion. So it becomes very difficult to move forward in life when people are not agreeing with you on what you know for a fact is correct. People these days are cutting corners a lot. People these days prefer to just get the job done. People these days prefer to do it in front of cameras and a wide audience and lights. They don't want to just do the right thing for the sake of the right thing because they feel like there's no reward in it. So be careful when you see people persecuting you, to know that who are you doing it for? Ask yourself, who am I doing this for? They are persecuting me, but who am I doing this for? They don't like me, but who am I doing this for? Am I doing it for God? I often say sometimes when I visit ceremonies like weddings, who are you doing this for? Some people do weddings to please parents, etc., but not because they are in love. So someone who goes out with a girl because that person is in love with that particular girl may not get the support of parents. So sometimes it's very difficult to do the right thing. You know the right thing, you try to do the right thing, but there's more opposition when you try to do the right thing than when you're doing the bad things that everyone else is doing. You go to a company, you want to give it your best, but you realize everyone else is cutting corners and they hate you for doing bad. Sometimes just ignore them and do what you believe is right. God bless you and have a fantastic day. Ciao.